So negative 3/4 plus negative 1/2. So we're adding fractions. So this is not multiplying. Like there's a plus sign in front of the parenthesis. Like if it was this, negative 3/4, whoops, times negative 1/2. Oh, that's a completely different animal. Because now you've got a number just touching a parenthesis, so that means multiply, right? So this is multiply, just to make sure we're clear on this. This means multiply, this means add. So let's just make sure we're clear on that. And the difference between the two, totally different. Multiply is you multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms. Add is a different animal. When you're adding fractions, you have to make sure your fractions are of the same type, the same species of fraction. We have quarters, we have halves. Not the same. Can't add them. We can't just go, oh, it's like, 3 and 1 is 4 and 4 and 2 is 6. That's nonsense. Okay. We got to turn them both into the same type of fraction. So how do we make them both the same type of fraction? Right. We gotta find the lowest common denominator. And so the lowest common multiple of 2 and 4 is 4. So we need 4 on the bottom of both fractions. So that has to be something over 4. And this has to be something over 4. Now, if we can get 4 on the bottom of both fractions, now we can add them. And adding them, whether they're positive or negative, doesn't matter, right? So the question is, how do you turn a half into a type of, halves into quarters? You turn halves into quarters. So you multiply that by what over what? Or in other words, you go 2 times what is going to give me 4, right? So it'll be 2 times 2, right? So if I multiply the 2 times 2, that becomes a 4. But if I multiply the bottom of the fraction, I must also multiply the top. Because I'm not changing the quantity, I'm just changing what it looks like. So that half, just ignore the negative for now. But multiply that half by 2 over 2 and we get, as you said, 2 quarters. So half of $1 is 50 cents, by the way, 50 cents, right? And that's the same as 2 quarters. Because if you've got 2 quarters, that's the same as a half, right? So the half becomes 2 quarters. Now it happens to be a negative. So fine, just stick on a negative. But the point is we do need a lowest common denominator. Whether these fractions are negative or positive, doesn't matter. You need the lowest common denominator, right? So now we have negative 3/4 plus negative 2/4, right? So now you're kind of thinking about adding negatives, right? So the bottoms are the same. Now we can put them together. And this is kind of just like having, negative 3 plus negative 2. Like if you had negative 3 plus negative 2, what would that be? Right. 3 bad guys and 2 bad guys, 5 bad guys, negative 5, right? And so we have negative 3/4 plus negative 2/4. So what do you think this is going to be? Right? So negative 5/4? Make sense? Yeah. Right. And just for fun, can you turn that into a mixed number? So like a whole, okay, what would it look like as a mixed number?
Negative 1 3/4.
Yeah. So you would go 4 into 5 goes 1 time, and what's the remainder?
3/4.
Not exactly. 4 into 5 goes 1 time, remainder 1, right? Because like 5 is equal to like 4 plus 1. That make sense? So you go 4 into 5 goes 1 time, remainder 1. So it's 5/4 is 1 and 1/4, right? Or like if you had 5/4, which is like 25 cents, you know what I mean? That'd be the same thing as having $1 25 cents, wouldn't it? Does that make sense? It's kind of like 5/4 is $1.25. That's basically what we're talking about here. Yeah. Okay, so negative 1 1/4 or negative 5/4. This is the improper fraction. That's the mixed number. The book probably wants you to just give that. That's probably fine, but would like everyone to be able to interchange between the two if needed also, right? Cool.